Have you ever found yourself in a situation where, no matter what you do, you're screwed either way? Well, the prisoner's dilemma is basically that, but with a touch of drama and far less room for apologies afterward. You know that moment when you try to save yourself, but end up dragging someone else down with you? Exactly, that's it. And you're about to learn how to do it with flair. Imagine this. You and your friend have been arrested for a crime. It doesn't matter whether you actually did something wrong or not. The system is here to mess you up. Now the game begins. The authorities don't have enough evidence to convict you outright, but they've got an ace up their sleeve. They'll separate you. So, you and your friend are taken to different rooms, as if the panic of being in jail wasn't enough. And the police give you an offer, or rather, a contract that'll make you sweat bullets. Here's your first option. If you rat out your friend, they'll take the fall and get the harsher sentence. But here's the twist. If your friend also rats you out, you'll both go down. Long, grueling sentences for both of you. Now, if you keep quiet but your friend decides to spill, well, buddy, you're toast. So, what do? Do you betray your friend to save your own skin? Or do you stay loyal and risk it all? The math here is simple, but the human mind is a train wreck. If both of you stay silent, your sentences are relatively light. You'll get out of prison quicker than expected. But, as always, trusting the other person is a dirty game. If one betrays the other, the traitor walks away free while the other drowns in a sea of prison time and regrets. Here's the really twisted part of this story. The best case scenario, the one where both of you stay silent and everyone gets along, is the least likely to happen. Because deep down, we all know, don't we? Deep down, we always assume the other person will betray us because trust is a rare commodity. And in the end, what happens? You, in a moment of pure anxiety and fear, end up turning your friend in because, of course, you just want out of this mess. The funniest, or rather, the saddest thing is that this dilemma is exactly how life and society works. When there's something to gain, we inevitably find ourselves throwing each other under the bus because, at the end of the day, no one really trusts anyone. And the worst part? No one even cares what the other person is thinking. Not until everything blows up in your face. And here's the real mind bender. If everyone were rational, the best thing would be to cooperate. But human nature, with its charming misery, doesn't let that happen. The great irony is that, to win, you have to be the first to pull the knife. You have to be the selfish one who acts without considering the consequences. And oddly enough, that selfish behavior is what puts you in the best position. Sounds like a smart move, right? If you take advantage of everyone, you might just save yourself. But what about your friend? What about trust? Here's the kicker. The prisoner's dilemma isn't about which choice is right. It's here to show us how, in the end, we're all just a bunch of fools trying to get through life without getting caught. Or worse, trying to save ourselves in a way that only makes everything worse. But what if, in the end, both decided to be honest? If both chose not to betray and played the loyalty card, like the justice heroes that no longer exist? Well, the result would be great for both of you. But, as we already know, that kind of thinking is for dreamers, the ones who believe life will be a bed of roses if you're just kind. So, what would you do? Would you trust your friend and bet that they'll stay silent? Or would you betray them, secure your escape, and laugh about it later? Ah, life and its choices. So simple, so complicated, and so deliciously treacherous. Now, you might be asking yourself, but what's the moral of all this? What am I really supposed to learn from this dilemma? Well, you've learned that trust, my friend, is like a soggy piece of paper. You can try to use it, but one gust of wind and it all falls apart. The prisoner's dilemma isn't about the crime. It's about the fear of being double-crossed. Deep down, we're all playing the same game, and those who dare to trust, to share the prize of freedom, often end up getting burned. You can be the most loyal, supportive person, but in the end, your good intentions won't matter when the system pits you against the wall. And here's more. The real cruelty of the prisoner's dilemma lies in the fact that the system, that invisible, treacherous monster that governs society, knows this. It knows your insecurity, knows how easy it is to manipulate your paranoia. It knows that if it presses you hard enough, you'll look over at the other person and think, well, I'm screwed anyway, so I might as well pull the rug out from under them first. The funniest part? The system isn't even sophisticated. It doesn't need to be. All it has to do is put you in a separate room, give you an option, and voila. Your brain switches to survival mode, and with that, you've already sold yourself out. Now. Seriously? I know you might be thinking, no, I wouldn't betray my friend. I'd stay quiet and play the loyalty game. Okay, friend, if you really think that, congratulations. You've just won the Delusional of the Day award. In theory, yes, the lion wouldn't attack the lamb. But here, in the jungle, the lamb is the one who ends up as dinner. And the worst part? When you finally decide to be the good guy, the one who gets the guillotine is you. The game is rigged. If you're expecting someone to play nice while everyone else is chasing a happy ending, you're more lost than a prisoner trying to escape. Now. You know what makes this even more fun? Even if you feel like a criminal mastermind, playing the betrayal card to save yourself, guess what? You're not just screwing yourself, you're screwing humanity. And yes, I know you'll want to interrupt me, saying, but I'm just looking out for myself. I'm not hurting anyone. Ah, the classic selfish excuse. The problem is, when everyone starts looking out only for themselves, things don't get better, they get worse. Because in a world where no one trusts anyone, the very concept of society begins to crumble. And then, in the end, you wind up living in the hell you built with your own hands, a place where everyone plays for their own interests, and no one is truly free. Now, let's take a look at the other side of the coin. What if, by some miracle, both prisoners decided to trust each other? That would almost sound romantic, right? Like a buddy movie storyline where, in the end, everyone hugs, cries, and the credits roll. The problem? Absolute trust doesn't exist. When you're locked up, scared, and uncertain of what tomorrow will bring, trusting someone isn't something you do easily. And as much as we'd all like to believe in human goodness, the truth is, we're all too busy trying to secure our own piece of the pie. And of course, the prisoner's dilemma teaches us another amusing lesson. The greatest enemy of any human being is the human being itself. Yes, that's right. Your biggest saboteur isn't the police, it's not society, it's you. Because deep down, no one is thinking about the other's well-being when there's something to lose. And that's the dirty trick of all ethical dilemmas. Morality, loyalty, altruism. They're great in theory, but when you're at rock bottom, with a knife at your throat, survival instinct takes over. The prisoner's dilemma, at its core, is about that, how far we're willing to go to betray so we don't get betrayed. And, my friend, you might try to be the hero, but only those who have felt the weight of imprisonment know that the real question is never about others. It's always about you, and when it's all over, if you emerge victorious from this moral battle, remember, you may have escaped the prison, but you'll carry the scar of your decision with you. In the end, nothing is as simple as it seems, and the real question is, could you live with it? The prisoner's dilemma is life in its rawest form, and whoever dares to play must decide, be the traitor or the deceived, or perhaps, who knows, be both at once. The game is yours, but the price, you'll pay sooner or later. If you make the wrong choice, if you fall into the betrayal game and sit beside the enemy, you become the traitor yourself. And if, by chance, you choose to trust the other person in goodwill, in the happy ending you become the fool who fell for it. So what's the real dilemma? The real question isn't what you do, but what you think you're doing. The prisoner's dilemma is a grand psychological trap, making you believe that trust is possible, that loyalty still exists. And in the end, you'll see yourself in the mirror, bearing the weight of living with your choices, knowing the system beat you anyway, and that's when the dilemma becomes philosophical. Instead of just deciding what to do, you have to decide how you'll deal with the consequences of your decision. And here's the cruel part. The prisoner's dilemma isn't about saving or not saving the other. It's about how to live with the shadow of what could have been. And the hardest question of all, could you live with your decision, knowing deep down it was manipulated by something much bigger than you? The move of betrayal doesn't always come in the form of a grand conspiracy. Sometimes, it's just ego. And if you think ego can't be treacherous, you're asleep at the wheel. Ego is the greatest undercover agent in our morality. When it steps in, trust is the first thing to go. The decision that once seemed so rational, so justifiable, becomes just another lame excuse to deceive yourself and shift the blame to something or someone else. Ego doesn't care about anyone, and when it aligns with distrust, the only thing you can expect is a spectacular fall. Imagine this game, with its promises and threats, isn't limited to two people in a prison. It's everywhere. Every day, in all human interactions, in every decision we make, we're playing a version of the prisoner's dilemma. At home, at work, on social media, everyone's constantly wondering, what if I trust? What if I'm the only one who gets screwed for it? The prisoner's dilemma isn't just about what the other might do. It's about what you think the other might do. It's the expectation you build, and therefore, the chaos you feed. The fear of betrayal corrupts the principles of trust and loyalty, and that can destroy even the best intentions. So what do you do with that? Do you surrender to the game, keep playing, or try to escape it? Well, here's the kicker. You can't escape. The prisoner's dilemma is a reality we all live in, deep down. The dilemma doesn't resolve itself. It repeats. You're stuck in a cycle, and you always will be. The only difference is that maybe now you'll understand a little better how the game works. And perhaps you'll even start playing more intelligently, without believing you'll always win. And so, people who seem to have won in the prisoner's dilemma by choosing to betray the other might think they've come out on top. But in reality, what they have isn't a victory. It's a wound that doesn't heal. Because winning in this game means nothing if, in the end, you become exactly what you always feared. Someone who trusts no one, not even themselves. The prisoner's dilemma, this experiment that seemed so simple, is a microscopic version of our own existence. We're forced to make choices, always doubting others, always trying to predict what they'll do, and trying to gain an advantage from it. For example, let's think of a real-life scenario. You have someone you care about deeply or even trust, but for some reason, you find yourself in a situation where you have to decide, should I trust them one more time, or should I protect myself? Now the prisoner's dilemma comes into play. If you trust, you might get burned. If you don't trust, you might lose out on something good. And even though the answer might seem obvious, here's the catch. Whatever choice you make will shape how you handle the next situation, and the next, and the one after that. Life isn't about avoiding betrayals or protecting yourself all the time. Life is about how you respond when things go wrong. And that, my friend, is the real test in the end. The only thing that matters isn't whether you were the prisoner who betrayed or the one who was betrayed. What matters is that, through this dilemma, you learned how to deal with what you can't control. Life, at its core, is a succession of dilemmas. Sometimes you'll come out victorious, other times you'll lose. But what truly counts is how you rebuild yourself. The game never ends. And what you choose to do with it is what will define you. So, tell me, how are you going to play the game of your life? Before you go out there trying to solve life's dilemmas, don't forget to give this video a like. Hit that like button, share it, and of course, subscribe to the channel. If you think this dilemma was worth your time, who knows? We might have even more intriguing topics waiting for you here. Don't miss the chance to keep diving into these philosophical journeys and the mystery of how the world really works. Subscribe, because, my friend, the game has just begun, and remember, in the end, the only thing you can control is your next choice, your next move, and who knows what you might learn from it. See you in the next video.